LSU is feeling as confident as they ever have in sitting in the Perkins situation. Here's what I was told by a very high source within LSU football is that they have heard that Perkins is coming to LSU by everybody around Harold but Harold. And that means a lot, obviously, to some of the recruiters. He is, but time is running out.
But is
on the
everybody
game.
Around Harold, Uncle Kevin, and his mom?
I think at times they absolutely were, right? I mean, they were definitely playing the game for a lot of this recruiting. But the game has changed with NIL.
Oh yeah.
Right? I mean, like, the NIL stuff has made the game so legal. You know what I mean? People are almost kind of like looking around like, are we good? You know what I mean? We're talking a lot of money here openly at a table of a restaurant. I mean, are we good here?
It's weird.
So he has decommitted from Texas A&M, Harold Perkins. I think everybody knows that's watching this show. Mm-hmm. LSU has been in contact with the family. LSU is obviously the favorite of the family. Like, it's very much where they are pushing LSU very hard on Harold and trying to give LSU a chance. I will tell you that LSU has had some visits set up and they've been stood up. And if you've heard Frank Wilson on this show, and if you know Frank Wilson as a recruiter, Frank Wilson don't play that. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter if it's Leonard Fournette, Harold Perkins, Malachi Dupree, or Trevante Citizen. If you start kind of toying with him and kind of playing with him, I mean, takes his stuff very serious. He's very organized. He is very scheduled. He's very task-oriented. And, I mean, he's got objectives every single day. And if, somebody doesn't show up for something like this where there's a lot of communication and a lot of conversation and a lot of commitment and a lot of people that are kind of moving and shaking things around to make things happen, so at times this relationship has been a little, not volatile, but what
are we doing here?
Yeah, like he's like, look, man, I mean, you could go to, if you're going to Texas A&M, just go to Texas A&M. It's all good. I mean, LSU, Frank Wilson and his crew have recruited high-level players. They get it. They understand that there's a little bit that comes along with it, but don't play with me.
Don't string us along.
Yeah, right. I mean, just tell us what's up.
I don't know. I have a Florida feeling.
LSU, no chance. LSU.
You want to go to Florida?
I mean, I don't think that if he goes to Florida, Florida's going to be the highest bidder, and Texas A&M's not going to get outbid by Florida.
Yeah,
right.
Maybe,
LSU can come to the table with a team with a deal, and it could go a long way, which I think is happening. Mm-hmm. Right, like behind the scenes, a lot of stuff is moving and shaking, and there are still deals that are being struck with current members of the squad. Mm-hmm. I mean, like right now, Ali Gay coming back. I mean, there's got to have some stuff going on with that, and who, again, is stepping up, but Gordon McKernan, right, on this NIL stuff. And I think LSU behind the scenes is trying to get organized from a business standpoint on how this stuff is going to work into the future, how you recruit the current team compared to some of the recruits, right? Because Harold Perkins and Jacoby Matthews and Trevante Citizen need a deal.
Yeah.
If they're going to come to LSU. And LSU knows that. And, I mean, I think right now there's an emphasis even on saving the current schedule. I mean, the current roster. Guys like Gay, even Mason Smith. I mean, Mason Smith is turning down, or not turning down, he's turning away a lot of phone calls right now and kind of shoveling them to other people and personnel around, kind of his life. But, I mean, those calls are coming in from other schools that, it gives you something to think about. Whether you're in on the transfer portal or you're opposed to the transfer portal, what it's really doing, the effect that it's having on these kids is whether you want to leave or not, it's giving you a choice. It's giving you something that you have to think about when another school is offering and saying, hey, look, if you make the move, if you want to come over here, we can get you a deal for a minimum of X. You might fire back and say, but what if it was Y? And they say, Hell, you know what? We'll make it Z. Come on. And, people behind the scenes are trying to work for LSU and trying to cultivate things and put things together from an organizational standpoint that they can combat that. But, how do you comparatively recruit the roster that's already on campus to big-time guys like Jacoby Matthews, Trevante Citizen, and now Harold Perkins is back in play? And I do know that LSU is going to have an in-home on Thursday. All of that is set up.
With Harold? With
Harold Perkins. They're going in-home, and everybody's going to be there, and everybody in the room is going to be pro-LSU.
Uncle Al?
Like, not pro-LSU like chanting LSU when he walks in. Like, when he walks in, decked out from head to toe in purple and gold.
Tech Miner's house.
Absolutely. But with it on. I mean, it's going to be tough for LSU not to feel really comfortable in Harold Perkins' living room on Thursday. And then Harold Perkins is officially coming to LSU this weekend, which is all being set up. And they are going to roll the red carpet out for him and Uncle Al and the entire crew.
And Uncle Kev.
Everybody.
And Mama.
So, I mean, they sit in a really good place with Harold Perkins right now, which, 2-3 weeks ago, I think even like the highest tier of LSU football personnel would tell you that they didn't have a chance, nor did they really want a chance because they didn't feel like it was real.
Did A&M do all this for him too? Did they go through the same thing? The home visits, everything?
Absolutely.
So he could go through this with LSU and then decommit from LSU as well.
We've run out of time.
Well, February, the February signing date is coming up, and as soon as he signs that letter of intent, well, now he's kind of legally bound to a school.
So then he can't decommit.
He can, but it's going to be a process of. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be wild. Once he gets on campus, I think the way that you're signing these Harold Perkins NIL deals, and we'll have Gordon back on and talk to him about this stuff because, like I said, man, I've talked to people within his office. There's a lot of moving parts that are happening, but there's a lot of things that are going on to really not save LSU's roster, but keep it intact. You know what I mean? Make sure guys like Allie Gay and Mason Smith are comfortable next season. So, But that's happening in Athens. That's happening in Gainesville. That's happening in Austin. That's happening in College Station. Hell, it's happening in Fayetteville.
Who's going to step up behind Gordon now and help him out?
I don't know.
Somebody's got to. Another big business owner.
I don't know. I really don't know where all of that stands. I know that there is, that there's people within LSU's football program that are focusing on those types of personnel. There's also, a group of business people that are trying to find the the legal way to run this stuff, and I think that there are examples that they can look at. Texas A&M, I think, is probably the most obvious
for sure
to look at. But not a lot of people have, not a lot of people, nobody really has the commitment level, the passion, and the pockets that Texas A&M has. A lot of people can compete in 2 out of the 3, but not a lot of people can compete in 3 out of the 3. There's not a fan base that's more passionate than LSU. But this fan base doesn't have as deep a pockets in numbers as Texas A&M does.
But there are several more people who can cut a $200,000 check pretty easily here in Baton Rouge, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I think so. But do they passionately love LSU?
That's
that's
right?
the question. I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know. You would think so.
There are other Gordons around.
If there's people like you and I that are doing this show that, we're kind of talking about, we're mainly talking about LSU. Obviously there's passion for it, but if it came down to it, would you cut a $200,000 check to the program? And really here, think this out loud, especially if you're in business. You're really not going to get it back.
Right.
You know what I mean? The return on the investment is almost just a donation to LSU football to try and keep the roster in place.
Well, the return is you're a hero.
Put the roster. Yeah,
right? Gordon's a hero.
Yeah, but some of these business people, and Gordon is, but think about the way that Gordon advertises.
Yeah.
Right? He wants you to believe that. A lot of these business people that they are approaching, they don't want that.
That's true.
They don't want to be out front. They don't want their face in the public. They don't want their name in the paper. They don't want their name on the show.
Yeah.
But they would like to help LSU.
Right.
And they are trying to find, I guess, either the best way to formulate that, the best way to organize that. And when you put those types of people, a lot of A-level personalities in one room, to organize one business deal.
Yeah.
I mean, that's bless you over there,
buddy.
It's
got to be tough.
Okay.
You look so shocked.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever sneezed on the show before.
I don't think you have either. You look so shocked.
What was the Quincy Jones song that they sang, We Are the World, where they brought like all of the, they had every single A-list celebrity, A-list celebrity in one studio. That's what you're really kind of trying to, try to sing We Are the World with the Louisiana business people and sit down and say, how do we cultivate the finest NIL deal to save Louisiana athletes or big-time recruits? That's ultimately what, Texas A&M did.
It is what they did. So somebody here can figure it out too, because the money's here.
I don't think the money like Texas A&M is here, but there is money around passionate LSU fans that would step up if you allowed them to have access to them. I don't know what gets these people's rocks off. I don't know what is like
at this. I would imagine.
Well, yeah, and keeping players like Kayshawn around.
Probably showing up to the birthday party with Kayshawn.
Yes.
Like showing up to the kid's birthday party with Kayshawn probably goes a million miles for these types of
guys,
personalities.
But if you're LSU or if you're LSU football, essentially is what the first one I would ask. Like once you get in the NIL game, you're in the NIL game. Now every recruit that you talk to or every guy that you want to stay on campus is expecting some sort of monetary investment in them, or else they'll go elsewhere. Like once you stepped foot and got Keyshawn Butte to remain at LSU, now there's guys that say I see myself on equal footing with them, or I see myself probably I can get paid then. They start looking around and going, okay, if they got money for Kayshawn, then they got money for me. But there's teams that were probably a little hesitant to get in. It seemed like LSU was, but now that they're in the game, these you got to pay BJ Ojulari, you got to pay an Ali Gay, you got to pay a Harold Perkins. Now that you're in the game, we're in the muck.
Yeah, no doubt, no. The plane is in the air.
Yes,
you know what I mean. We're
flying now.
You're up in the air.
And Harold Perkins might be the pilot.
Right. Well, then Jacoby Matthews wants to co-pilot.
That's fine.
You got room for Javante?
Absolutely.
Watch out with this running back, Diggs, the former running back at Rummel, Diggs at Notre Dame. There's a lot of speculation, a lot of smoke that he's thinking about jumping into the portal. That's another South Louisiana kid from New Orleans who I have heard in the short term that Cortez Hankton and Frank Wilson are a problem in New Orleans. But that's Frank Wilson, Hankton has cleared the Wilson, clearance. He's a dog.
He passed the G.
He's going to be a problem.
Yeah. You get the leather duster.
You can trust him.
Yeah. Yes.
So good things happening with Harold Perkins this weekend. But a lot of the stuff that we've talked about with LSU in the NIL space, stuff is obviously happening. Right? Deals are being struck, and right now, Gordon is behind all of them, it feels like. I know that there's conversations with his office with Mason Smith and Ali Gay and Keyshawn Butte and some of the guys, Miles Frazier, who came in from the transfer portal in the offseason. So, they are doing work, man. They are making moves. Kyron Lacey, the wide receiver from Lafayette. Do something about that.
I have the things ordered. Yeah. They'll be here tomorrow.
So remember, daily, we are brought to you here by Go Chevrolet, driven and powered, as we said, every single day. Stop in and see them at Go Express Auto Sales over there on Florida Boulevard near Sherwood Forest. And Go Chevrolet is located, brand new car lot out in LaPlace, Louisiana. And the brand has grown up into Tennessee. Online at GEAUXChevrolet.com, GEAUXChevrolet.com.
What do you say this is why Brian Kelly probably left Notre Dame? When you see LSU be this invested in name, image, and likeness and being able to recruit players the way that they have.
Boy, I think this has kind of happened while he's been here.
Yeah,
think about it. When he got down here, we were talking to Kayshawn for 3 straight Sundays and asked him, How many times have you talked to Brian Kelly and he hadn't talked to him yet? I mean, while he was on the job, he had yet to establish communication with his best player. I'm not saying that that's right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm just saying those are the facts, and that's where it was. And since Gordon has kind of stepped in with this NIL stuff, Kayshawn's a lot happier, it seems like.
Well, I bet.
You know, I mean, yeah, sure. But, I mean, it's all kind of developed while Kelly has been in Baton Rouge. I don't think that he looked down here and said, oh, wow, they're a couple of steps ahead on NIL. I can get down there and recruit towards that. Because by what I've been told is that Kelly really at Notre Dame was pushing that. Like he was like pushing a lot of like unit type deals, like group type deals.
Yeah, that's
where
the Notre Dame way.
Trying to get an offensive line type
group,
deal.
Yeah,
defensive line type group paid where you can go promise them X amount of dollars for, you know, every commitment and signee that you get. And I think the way, I don't know if I mentioned this, the way that I think I started the thought but never finished it, when you approach Harold Perkins with an NIL deal, you make him commit to LSU for 3 years. Like, you can't have this thing where every single year you're renegotiating with a guy like this. Like, hey, you want all of this money? This is what you want? Well, then you need to stay here 3 years. And if you don't, you forfeit this amount. You'll even have to maybe repay this amount. I mean, it is business. It is contracts. It is accountability. You know what I mean? Like, this is not, hey, let me save the LSU wide receiver from going to Alabama and just chunk him $150K, you know, or whatever the deal is.
That was a one-off.
Allegedly.
That was an alleged one-off scenario, right? Because you couldn't, you know, what, pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. That's what Alabama kind of ran into whenever they went after Kayshawn and Eli Ricks in the same week, essentially. But if you have to do it that way, where it's like, all right, it's a 3-year flat fee. This is what we're doing. If you're a Butkus Award winner, if you're, Nagurski, whatever, like if you start playing to where you're a freshman All-American, sophomore All-American, they're going to go back to the table and want to renegotiate, right?
Sure, and I think that you leave that contract language open for that.
If you just can't leave.
It's a performance-based contract.
Right.
I mean, you just build it as a performance-based contract
Incentives.
to a guy like Jacoby Matthews, Trevante Citizen, Harold Perkins. Like, look, here's a 3-year deal. If you do this in year 1, we'll sit back down next summer and you can possibly get X. If you do this in your sophomore season, by the time you're Kayshawn's age, you could be making that type of money, but we're not giving you
immediately
Kayshawn's contract right now. And
you're visiting Florida.
It's just not going to happen. You know what I mean? Like, I can get this at Texas A&M. Well, then go figure it out there. And if you want to transfer next season, give us a call and this same deal will be on the table. And if you shell out over there, then we'll build the numbers on what you perform on, right? Like, I mean, Kayshawn deserves the biggest contract at LSU because he's the best player at LSU, right? Like Mason Smith, you got to pay that guy. You don't want to block him. You don't want Dare Rosenthal circumstance. You know what I mean? Where, you're at Kentucky, and every first down that Kentucky gets, Dare Rosenthal staring at the sideline, pointing the first down. I mean, that had to just be like eating Scott Woodward in the personnel department up. Like, this can't happen.
Well, your offensive line is getting absolutely brutalized, mauled. And he played at LSU. That was a guy that was on the team about a week ago.
He's all SEC.